Background imagery can get you pretty far in Splash, but sometimes you need to have physical imagery in elemental form in your blocks. That brings us to our second form of imagery in Splash, the image element. An image element is the most basic imagery element that is used in Splash. It allows a user to quickly and easily add an image to an event page. There's no default cropping, resizing, nor stretching applied to the image by default. If you're adding an image element to the page, the image will take up 100% width of the container you are adding it to. It also dictates its own proportions. So if you have a horizontal image scaled to be the entire width of the page and scale it down to 50%, the image will resize proportionally. For this reason, the image element is a perfect tool for adding your brand logos to the page. An image element can be added by hovering over another element on page, or by clicking on the Add Element icon at the bottom of the layout tree inside a block. Once the element library is launched, the designer can click into Elements and then find Image Element. Once added, the user can change the image by clicking directly into it on page, or by navigating through the Layout tab and hitting the Change button. They can then choose to upload an image from their computer, or select from the Unsplash or Giphy stock libraries. The only restrictions for uploading your own image is that it needs to be under 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels and under 10 megabytes in size. The image itself can be a JPEG, transparent PNG, or animated GIF, but JPEGs will help your page load the fastest. The Unsplash library has various categories allowing the designer to narrow their selection. Both the Unsplash and the Giphy libraries give the designer the option to search for a specific image as well. As an added bonus, whenever Unsplash or Giphy update their libraries, the updates pull through in real time to Splash as well, so there will always be new images to experiment with. The designer can increase or decrease the size of an image element by altering the width inside the Width and Height tab. As the user changes the width, the entire image element will scale proportionally. One can also crop an image element by clicking into the image and then clicking in the Crop button in the Layout tab on the right. The cropping tool will be a full page takeover, and the designer can then click and drag their cursor over a specific portion of the image to create their crop. When an image element is cropped, the exact portion of the image that they have cropped will now be displayed on the page. If the user wants to move the image around the event page, and the image element's width happens to be set to something less than 100%, they can then click into the Positioning tab and utilize the Float feature to align it to certain sides of the container. If you want to have the image element link out to another website, you can enter the URL into the link input located in the Image Options tab. Designers also have the ability to add alt text to any image element on a splash page inside the Image Options tab. Alt text gives the designer the option to include a brief description of the image to improve search engine optimization and accessibility. One last point about image elements. Remember, when you set the width of an image element to 50%, that allows you to then be able to clone it so that two can sit neatly next to each other. This is because you are always allotted 100% per line. However, since image elements dictate their own proportions, if you swap the second image element's image out with something that is not the exact same size and proportions of the first one, you'll notice a visual misalignment occurs. If you are looking to achieve a more controlled layout, where you, the designer, dictate the proportions of an imagery on a splash page, you're actually in the market for the third type of imagery in Splash, called a square element. So let's head there next.